So for today's project, I'm working in my Dino Wakeley multi-surface journal, and I'm going to use up one of these craft card pages to build up a little collage page with a Christmassy kind of feel to it. So to start off with, I've just taken a pencil and just drawn a rough kind of line about a third of the way up the page to just create a little demarcation point for where I want to start adding some colour. So to start off with, I'm going to take some gesso. Actually, we'll start off with the black gesso. Here we go. So I have a pot of indigo blue black gesso, which is a fairly fluid gesso, and I've got a paintbrush, and I'm going to paint pretty much all over that top section. I'm not being too bothered about going right up to the edges of the page. I kind of like that rough, painterly kind of bordery edge on my art journal pages. Now this is a background layer that's going to be covered up with other stuff later on. So just try and follow that kind of line that I set for myself earlier. This black gesso, as you can see, covers really nicely on the craft card. Just add a few up and down strokes into the background. Like I said, it's going to disappear off anyway. That's it. That gives me a nice kind of base for the colour that I want to add on top. So I'm just going to clean off my paintbrush, give that black gesso a quick blast with my heat gun. Once that's dry, I'll be right back. So the black gesso is now completely dry, and I want to add another layer on top of this before I add my bottom layer of colour. So I want to add a brick effect. So I have my bricked stencil from TCW. I've got some terracotta paint from Reeves, and I need a little bit of a paint mat just to add down the side there that I can use as a little bit of a palette. And I'm going to just add some of that paint. So the terracotta is like an earthy brick colour. So I'm going to build up the colour on the sponge, try and get plenty of paint into the sponge, and then I'm just going to hold the stencil down and I'm going to pounce over the top. So I'll also get that kind of stippled effect, like the texture on the brickwork. So it won't be solid, you'll get that kind of mottled effect that you get on bricks. Or I'm hoping so anyway. I'm just taking it towards the end. All the way down. And of course, because I've put the black gesso down first, when I remove the stencil, we should have like that black kind of mortar-y effect in between. Just like that. So I'm going to shuffle the stencil along to about there, just so I can kind of match it up a little bit. Grab again, and we'll go again. It's not going to be perfect. That's it. Yeah, kind of matches. It's not 100%, so I'm actually going to go in the middle this time. Build up, get a nice kind of brick wall effect for the background. And then what I can do with this bit is I can just fill in those bricks. Just like that. And then just go over the top again, over this side. It's going to be difficult because I'm going into that corner. that should pretty much work. There we go. Almost perfect brick. I did say almost. Okay, so I'm going to put my stencil to one side. Obviously I want to have that dry before I move any further. So I'll give that a blast quickly with the heat gun. And once this is dry and I've had a bit of a clean up here, I'll be right back. Okay, so the brickwork is kind of dry. Now I have added a couple of clips just onto the side of my pages here because it did have a little tendency to curl a little bit, but that's fine. So I now want to tackle the bottom. So to do that, now I'm going to bring out my white gesso, and I've just given it a quick shake. I'll just take the lid off, and I've cleaned off my brush. So I'm now going to grab some white gesso and add that down towards the bottom, and then I can add just over the top. So we've got a nice kind of seamless white coverage just over the bricks. Take that all the way down. Now I may need to do more than one coat of the white gesso, but we will see. Probably will do. I'm not bothered about getting a few flecks of the white gesso on the brickwork because I'm going to be adding some more white splatters in a minute. So a few painterly splodges. Doesn't have to be complete perfect coverage, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of white paint or the white gesso, add a tiny bit of water to it, mix it up, and then I'm going to add I could have done this with a little bit with a toothbrush or something like that, but I just want to add some of these in the background. I will add some more in the foreground later, but I just wanted to add a few just in that background area. There. Now you can see that. Okay, so once again, need to get all this dried, and then we'll be back. So it's like 90% creativity, 10% drying time, as with everything. So the white gesso is now dry, and so are the splatters. I did go back over with a second coat with the white gesso. Like I said, I probably would need to, but I didn't film that bit because you've already seen me painting the white anyway. So my focal point for this art journal page, so we've got bricks, we've got a snowy path. So what better image to add into this than this fantastic post box. So in the UK, post boxes are red. So this is a traditional red post box. And obviously it's been used as a Christmas card that I found a while ago. Thought that would come in really useful for an art journal page later on in the year, and I've kept it all this time. But what I want to do is I want to actually cut off this bottom part where the glitter is. I don't particularly like that bit, so I want to cut that off and remove that glittery bit at the bottom. Just to kind of make it sit a little bit better on that page there. That looks okay to me. Okay, so what I need to do now is to glue this down onto the page. So I'll grab my glue, and I've got glitter everywhere already because it's coming off the card itself. So sometimes you see an image in a magazine or a bit of ephemera or something, and you just think that would make a fantastic focal point for an art journal page. So you just need to grab it when you see it and put it to one side. Sometimes, you know, we keep these things for months and months and months, if not years, before actually using them. But what reminded me about this one is that this design is on sale again this year in my local supermarket, which is where it came from last year. So that's going to get stuck down there, and then while that's sticking down and holding on to that gesso at the bottom, I can just pop this to one side, and then on my computer I've got some old vintage postcard images. So I brought one into my Adobe Photoshop, and then I just added the words Dear Santa across that. Now what I want to do is I just want to round the corners. I obviously sized it appropriately for the page, just by guessing really. I did 2 or 3 different sizes on the sheet when I printed it out, but I think that's going to sit quite nicely just there, like that. But I want to grunge it up a little bit first. So I need to grab one of my daubers, my blending tools, and then a little bit of archival ink, coffee, which is my preferred for grunging up edges and distressing things, because the archival is permanent, it doesn't remove again like distressing does. So permanent is always preferable on art journal pages, I think anyway, over ones that will move again. Which basically means if I want to protect this page from moving or getting damaged, I can add a layer of clear gesso over the top and nothing's going to move underneath. That wouldn't work if I'd done everything with distressing, because that reactivates with water. Okay, or with liquid. Let's get rid of that now and bring the page back in. Okay, so now we've got that, we can grab our glue. Just add some glue in there, and then we can decide. Let's do it so that the Dear Santa is fairly straight, but the postcard is at an ankle. An ankle? Grief. About there. And just drop and hold that down. Now while that's sticking, I'm going to just bring in that white gesso again. Now, a day or so ago, I used one of these daubers with some white paint on it. So I'm just going to use the same one again. I did wash it out, and I'm just going to add a little bit of kind of texture across the bottom, and then just try and disguise that a little bit further in the bottom there. Just bring a little bit more in. Trying to get my head in the shot. I wanted to get rid of the glitter, really, from the bottom bit anyway. Haha, that I like, and not difficult to do either. I like art journal pages that are kind of striking and then, but don't really take that much work. So, of course, I need to do some more splatters, don't I? So, fan brush this time. I've already cleaned the brush that I used earlier on. Let's just bring that back in, and then didn't need to put that gesso away, did I? Duh. Just take a little, and then load up the fan brush, and then I can just add some more. Just over. And that should then blend that nicely into the background. And then I just quickly clean that up because it's nice and wet. I should win an award for the tidiest crafter of the year. If there was such a thing. It's a bit of an oxymoron really, isn't it? Okay, let's get that dry and then we're ready for signing. And I think I'm actually quite happy with that. So all I'm going to do is just sign it down at the bottom. In fact, should we sign it up the side of the post? And put today's date. I've just put the 18th instead of the 12th. Duh. And I am happy with that page. Fairly simplistic and something which you can easily replicate if you've got, you know, a brick stencil at home. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. And if you've never caught my 2017 Christmas series, there is a link at the end of the video that you can click to watch the whole. It was 8 days last year. I know, I did a bonus one. So you can catch up with those if you finish this series and want to watch some more. There you go. All from me. I'll see you again tomorrow.